Hello, dear ones. This video that I will present is from fall of 2022. It is a rally in Penticton, BC, Canada. The points made back then are totally valid today. We just need to stay with the truth. And as far as that goes, the events that have occurred during the 3 or 4 years since that rally is leading us to the same obvious conclusion that the Earth is in a full transition phase. The only other thing that I will leave you with is, of course, John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. This applies to this video and the path ahead. Thanks for watching. May peace, love, and truth be with you. Coming out, I know a lot of you here, and I'm glad Bettina ended her speech with the word freedom, and also it was mentioned that we need to get rid of the mandates and the passports and all the other garbage. From my experience over pretty much my lifetime, in order to bring the power to achieve those things and everything you want, including freedom, that comes with aligning with truth. And that's why we put this Truth Center together, primarily to protect us, and then released it to the public when they decided that we should also be involved with the ridiculous mandates. So in order to illustrate what I mean, I'll briefly give you 4 different points, and then I'll expand on that and show how it has impacted our life. The first one being, in 1866, the evidence came out and was registered in the French Academy of Sciences that the virus does not exist. Now, the fact that it exists in billions of people across the world is insignificant to that very fact. It only exists in the mind of humans and CGI images. Point number 2, in 1988, on the advice of a nurse, we looked into vaccination before our child was born, and then chose not to vaccinate based on that. The third point is, in 2006, genes were taken off the table. You're no longer the helpless prey of your genes. Bruce Lipton came out with that in 2006, epigenetics. The fourth point is actually the production of our Truth Center, which completed the research from 1988 in exposing the entire fraud down to the point, as I mentioned in 1866, that the virus does not exist. And how that's played out in our life is, when we went through the hospitals during the birth of each of our children, we ended up with a protection bubble around us because we carried that truth with us. Again, that occurred in the Canadian Superstore down here, when many times my wife and I were the only two in the whole store that never wore a mask. Nobody approached us ever. And you have this protective bubble around you, because if they had have approached us, they were in for a 2-hour conversation on why they were wrong. Whether they intuited that or whatever, nobody. That's the protection that you get by following the truth. And so my point is to have confidence in this emergence of truth that is happening everywhere, albeit suppressed by trillions of dollars and censorship. This truth is coming through. Those of you that have looked deep enough, you know about that. And that's the process that will drive this program all the way through to the end. Falsehood only has so much power. And even trillions of dollars of falsehood is not going to stand up to a day in the Canadian Superstore with me and my wife and no masks. It can't. It's falsehood. It doesn't even exist. So
It does in Clown World.
It does in Clown World, that's right, that's all. And so if you want to look at it another way, as important as these rallies are and all the other ones, they are important because the world is standing up all the way across. You're not going to see it on mainstream media, but the process that is going to push this thing through to the end is sufficient disillusionment. So any words that I can tell you or my Truth Center can put out or the number of people that will show up is somewhat irrelevant to the fact that sufficient disillusionment has to come to their front door. It's always been that way, and the only reason why you guys are probably standing here today is because you've been sufficiently disillusioned, you've felt distrust with the system, and you've questioned it. And the ones who are sitting at home, programmed by the TV, they haven't reached that sufficient disillusionment. And so what happens is that we've all lost somebody. That has to be addressed as to why this is the greatest time alive. And as far as pushing this thing right through to the end, the answer comes from the same situation. Now, in my personal case, I've lost people to the system. I lost my sister a few years back. I lost my mom a decade ago. She had what is termed as Alzheimer's. And so I took her out to Alberta. A natural health practitioner identified 5 toxins. I sent her home to the coast, and nobody would administer those remedies because it didn't fit the system. So we've been losing people to the system for a long time. This latest fake circus that's going on is only heightened activity of that situation. And so how that applies is that prior to March of 2020, I had resigned myself to the fact that I was just going to lose people. I couldn't do anything about it, even if I had the truth. But now, everything's changing. Now, along with you folks, and along with the swell that is going to come up through sufficient disillusionment, we are going to completely overturn the system. And that's the only way to get through to this. Reform, whether you're talking about government or the institutions that are running things, isn't going to do it. We've seen the infectious insidiousness overtake any benevolence that has come into these systems. And so that means that all the rallies and all the petitions and such are only going to have limited effect. The system has to come down altogether. And the necessary means is coming, and there's no way to stop it. So the fact that the support is on its way is, there's many indicators to show that, and I have a few more points to illustrate along that, not the least of which, of course, is the trucker stimulus and the rally. There's another video out there that showed the millions and millions and millions of people over 50, 60 countries all standing up. So the fact that we're not showing that on media and the fact that the sleepers aren't shown that, again, that's irrelevant. We just need to have the confidence to realize that this thing is well in hand. And the fact that this is well in hand fits also the theological research of the Truth Center. Whether or not you are totally aligned with the whole God consciousness thing or not, that's irrelevant at this time. As long as you follow the law, do no harm, cause no loss, you're sitting in the right spot. And so the other things that are available is that the systems are self-destructing from the inside. That's part of the attributes of evil, in that the seeds of destruction are contained within. So as we watch this destruction happening from the inside, that's another indicator that what's going on. The other thing is that's starting to show itself is the governments are coming down. You've got Kazakhstan, you've got Brazil. They're overthrowing the government. The China situation is going to be a major. I put out an email the other day. The last thing you want to do is to piss off 1.4 billion people. And they've done that. So now you'll see on the videos where all these goons in the white suits are being overrun by hundreds of thousands of angry Chinese people. So have no doubt that this thing is occurring. And stand firm with the precept that a person is no longer deceived once they know they've been deceived. So as you walk into this further enhanced utter ridiculousness of the systems that are coming up, like the climate change lockdowns, which is absolutely absurd. I don't know who would even think about buying that. And you've got your CBDC. Keep in mind that these instruments are there to wake them up. Now, I know that impacts your lives to a degree as well, but when you resign yourself to the fact that you folks are most important to me over and above taking some silly flight or having to cross some silly border, then you know you've got it made. And so, like I said, keep in mind that this stuff is designed to bring sufficient disillusionment to those who still haven't quite got it. Now, there's three essential points that Jason Brashear's put out as well. I don't know if anybody's following you. And that strengthens us as we move through this next ridiculous process. And these are the essential things to arm yourself with as you move through it. One is intuition, one is empathy, and one is imagination. Now, they're all critical. I've been talking about intuition for a long time. That's the thing that has guided me through the whole process. You put your intuition together with your logic, and you'll see through all the ridiculous that's out there. The second one, empathy. If you look into David Hawkins, you'll see that empathy has been turned into apathy for the American public. And how that works is you've been suppressed and oppressed to where you can barely make ends meet, where you don't even have room for empathy anymore. But again, we're smarter than that, and we need to bring that empathy back into the situation. It's a critical ingredient. The last thing that may not seem important is imagination. But the imagination is the human attribute that is the essence of all creation. And so when you take your attention away from the dark, evil, ridiculousness that's out there, it's important to know that. You have to know what's been going on. But when you take your attention off that, once you know it, and you put it onto your imagination, you create the world that you really want. And that is the process that will take over this earth. The particular attribute that is, from my theological research, is the imminent and impending light in life that is an eternal condition and will take over this planet.
Woo! Woo! Yeah! Freedom! Freedom! Freedom!
So at the end of the day, as mentioned, if you're standing with do no harm, cause no loss, then you also know that you have the right for life, liberty, and property. And no one on this planet has any right to take that away from you. We never knew that before, but we know it now. And so we simply need to stand in that light with our own authority. And the other thing that's come to light, of course, is that they need your consent. And when you see these ridiculous things about supplying psychotic drugs to people who are unvaxxed, you know that's a retarded, super stupid statement, because they know they need your consent, and that pisses them off. So stand with the truth. The truth has created the bubble around me in my life as I needed it, and as I stood for my own children, and now for my grandchildren. And so that's basically the process that will take us right through to the end. There's been indicators continually coming out through the last 33 months that have confirmed my theological research. So personally, I'm confident that what I speak about is true, and it's just a matter, as the awakening affects others by way of sufficient disillusionment, that this process will reach imminent and firm conclusion, as I've illustrated. So thanks for listening, and stand with the truth as I have, and it will protect you.
Woo! Thank you.